Hey everybody, it's Michael from Michael Quilts and Quarter Square Quilt Company. Today's video is Longarm Quilting Custom Work. We're going to do the second Legit Kits quilt, Big G. And as always, if you enjoy this content, please like, subscribe, and get notified. And as always, you can find out more about me at michaelquilts.com. Follow me on social media, Michael Quilts on Facebook, michael.quilts on Instagram. Giraffes. And yes, another giraffe, and there's a lot more here in my studio. I collect giraffes, but I didn't tell Mike at Legit Kits that when I told him I'd quilt this quilt. So yes, it's Big G, the giraffe from Legit Kits. This is part 2 of 3. I'm custom quilting 3 Legit Kits quilts. The first one was Everest. This is Big G. We're going to do Edgar the Raven next. Okay, so this one is going to be real simple. I'm using rulers for this whole quilt. And we're going to do straight line ruler work in Big G's body. And that includes just everything, the head, the whole body. We're going horizontal lines. And we're going to do 1 inch apart. Okay, so that makes it pretty easy. And then we're going to do Baptist fans in the background. Now, I've shown you how to do Baptist fans all over. We do that a lot. But I've never shown you how to do it as a background where you have a different subject inside. So, and what makes it a little tricky is that at the top here, it goes all the way across. Then the rest of the quilt, it's just on the left side and the right side. Now, my personal preference is for them to, go from the bottom to the top and to radiate up. I don't like when the fan looks like it's radiating from the top and going down, if you know what I mean, that direction. So you could quilt this upside down, or you could do a number of things, but I'm going to show you how to, one way to match up the fans and do it from bottom to top, still the way that I like to do it. And just going back to why I'm going to do the straight lines and the Baptist fans, there are so many pieces in Big G's head and his beautiful face, and I don't really want to take away from that with a lot of elaborate, dense quilting. So I think the straight lines are going to be great for this. I think the Baptist fans are going to be great for the background. Sometimes a quilt like this, even custom quilting, just needs something simple and all over, but it's specific to this quilt, which makes it custom and it makes it great. Okay, there might be some other kits from Legit Kits that can handle some elaborate quilting on the interior, and I'll probably get to that soon. But anyway, that's how we're going to do with this one. All right, let's go and get to it. Here we go. Okay, so for tools and supplies, here's what we're using today. We are using the straight 12 for our straight line quilting. We are using the Fab5 Fan Set for the Baptist fans. This is the original set, not including the expansion. So that means with the original set, we're getting fans that are 1 inch apart. For batting, we're using 1 layer of Quilters Dream Poly Select in black towards the back, and then 1 layer of Quilters Dream Wool on the top. For thread, we're using Glide thread for the Baptist fans. I'm using 2 different shades of blue. I'll put those in the description if I remember to do that for you. And then for all of the straight line quilting in Big G's body, we're going to use Essence and Clear from the makers of Glide. Thought I would try that on this quilt for a change of pace. It's been a while since I've used it, so we'll see how that turns out. Everything else is pretty standard. I will be stitching 10 stitches per inch for the most part. That's what I like. And first up, we're going to show the basting. Okay, here we go. Okay, one more thing before we baste is removing the papers. Now, I did not sew this quilt. This was made by a fantastic sample maker, but I asked Legit Kits to leave a few papers in for me so that I could remove them on camera. All right, so here's me removing the papers. Super easy, really great newsprint. If you haven't seen what you get in the kit, go back and watch the Everest video. I unpack a box, just like what you would get if you ordered a Legit Kits quilt. All right, here, let's go to the basting. Okay, so I have started basting the quilt. I basted the outside edge, the top, and this side, whatever was in my throat space. Plus I did a meander in the interior. Okay, I'm using the line minder, so whenever I do my basting, or anytime I'm floating a quilt basically, and I'm advancing, I want to make sure that I'm doing it straight. That's this Longarm line minder. You can find them on my website. So I've got 1 mark at the edge, both edges. I've got the white one in the center that's going to keep following the center seam each time I advance. And then I've got another one that's marking this line, which is this seam line that goes all the way down. Same with this side. There we go. All right, so I'm going to advance again and do the same thing in the next available throat space until I get to the bottom. Well, I managed to baste the whole quilt without turning the camera on. So if you'd like to see the video of how I do it, I do have one here on the YouTube channel. It's called Longarm Machine Quilting, How to Baste Using the All Over Meander Quilt Basting Method. Okay, it's a couple years old, but it's still the way I do it. All right, there's a link in the description below. Okay, basting is complete, and now we're going to start quilting Big G. Right, I've already done a thread tension test here. It looks good. I've got my side leaders on. I've pulled out some of the basting stitches down here at the bottom left corner because that's where we are going to start. If you haven't seen how we use the Fab5 Fan Set, there are some videos I'll link below. But basically, we're working from top to bottom for a couple of reasons, and this might be redundant information for some of you, but I'll go ahead and say it, that any kind of ruler work that you do progressively, meaning it's the same thing and it's going in a direction, you're going to find it much easier if you go from bottom to top than if you're a right-handed person, you're going from left to right. If you're a left-hand person, you might be going from right to left. But the reason is because that is the most convenient way to see your previously stitched lines. So if I were doing a bunch of straight lines, I would be able to see them and match them up on my ruler to do the next straight line, etc., etc. If you go from top to bottom, your marked line is behind the hopping foot. I'm not saying you can't see it, but it's not as easy. Okay, so I'm always going to suggest with progressive ruler work that you go from bottom to top or left to right, or a combination of both, which is what we're doing today. So with the fan set, there's a 3, a 5, a 7, 9, and 11. I'm using the original fan set. Okay, the expansion set is a 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and they create fans within this, and that gives you a tighter fan. I'm going with the original on this one because that's the spacing that I want. Okay, so this might be information that you've seen before if you've used this fan set before, but if you haven't, then here I'll give you kind of a brief rundown. We're going to start our first row of fans by looking at this 90-degree angle here. Hold on. Where could I? Let me put it somewhere where we can actually see it. What we're looking for is this 90-degree angle. Right there. That's on every one of these templates, that 90-degree angle. Okay, so we're going to start with the 3. There's 5 pieces to this set, and when we are working this way, we go down, up, down, up, down. Okay, so that's our pattern. Down, up, down, up, down. Meaning the first thing we're going to do is stitch down. Okay, so if I put this template in the bottom left-hand corner of this quilt, I'm matching up that 90-degree angle with the left side of the quilt and the bottom. And I'm going ahead and putting it out here at the edge of the quilt, knowing that some of this will get sewn into the binding, which is fine. Okay, so I'm going to be starting right there. So I'm going to go ahead and drop my needle down. Whenever you first start with an ANOVA, it does a couple of stitches to register the stitch regulator. Okay, so that's why you just saw 2 stitches and I just pulled it out. So here we go again. All right, I'm going to pull up my thread, take a few locking stitches. Okay, so we want to go down, up, down, up, down. All right, matching up this 90-degree angle. Here we go. I'm stitching at 10 stitches per inch because I like that. You could do whatever you like. 10, 11, 12. Okay, so I'm going to follow the outside of this template and go down. Okay, so I just went down. Easy enough. All right, the next thing I'm going to do is grab the 5, which is the next one. There is a marking here that's 1 inch away from the center marking. So if I line up this vertical line with the needle and I travel over to this vertical tick mark, I'm pretty close to where I need to be. So I use that, and then I take the template and position it. And when I position it, I should have that same straight line from the left side of the quilt here, and then the bottom here. Okay, so that looks good to me, and then we're going to go up. Okay, when you get to here, you can do the same thing when you grab your next one, which is going to be the 7. Sorry, you can put it to the side, use the little tick mark there. You know you're going to travel up approximately to this center line here. Okay, so that's the 7, and we'll put it down here to make sure. So you're going to line up the left side with the vertical, the bottom of the quilt with that horizontal. Okay, and we're going to stitch down. Nice and easy. Okay, I've got the 9. I'm matching up the vertical line with the needle, stitching over to the little tick mark. Okay, placing the 9. Left hand side straight line, and the horizontal line is matching with the bottom. I'm going to stitch up. Okay, going to grab the 11. Matching up the tick mark with the needle, I know that I've got to stitch up to there. And now when I place the 11, it should match up. A little bit more. There we go. Okay. On your last one, down, up, down, up, down, this is where you're going to travel. There is just a slight bit of backtracking with using these, and we're going to travel back up to that tick mark. Okay. So we're just going right over the stitches we just made. Travel up to the tick mark. All right, now we're going to start back with the 3. Remember, because we have to go down, up, down, up, down. Now when I put this 3 in, this is the first time you're going to start using these dashed tick marks. So you don't want to match this line up anymore. That was when we first started and we were matching up the edge of the quilt. What we do want is this horizontal line to be at the bottom of our quilt, but we want to see dash, dash, dash right on top of our previous stitch line. Okay, so here we go. Down, stop, grab the 5, line up this center line with your needle, stitch over to the tick mark. Okay, place it. And we're going to line up this line with our edge of our quilt at the bottom, the horizontal line, and you're going to see now dash, dash, dash. These tick marks, they line up with that arc right there, that previous stitch line. That's what you want to match up. That's why these come out so nice. Okay, when you get here, we're not at the straight edge anymore. This is going to require us to travel up this way. Remember, we traveled straight up last time. So there are a number of ways that you can do this. I usually just eye it. But on the 11, the biggest one, you're going to have tick marks that you can use if you want. You can put that down and you can travel up to the tick mark. If not, just guess, and then once you put the next one down, which that was the 3, the 5, here's the 7, you can put it down and then match up your previously stitched tick marks with your bottom straight edge on the horizontal, and you'll be good to go. If you need to adjust and stitch up a little bit or come down, either way it's fine. So we go down. Now we grab the 9, stitch over to the tick mark, place the 9, match up the bottom horizontal line, match up your previously stitched line on the left, go up. I'm going to stop because
there's a few things that you can look at to make sure you're on track. Do you see this line here? The fan set also has curved cross hatching lines, so it becomes like a multi-purpose fan. But 1, 2, 3, that's 3/4 of an inch plus 1/4 inch. That means this is the inch mark. These fans are 1 inch apart. When you're stitching up here, the stitching should fall under this intersection right here on your ruler. So that's another way to check. You've got several things to check. You've got this horizontal line at the bottom. You've got this right here that should match up, and then you have previously stitched lines right here. And as you get further into this set, when you're doing Baptist fans, you're going to have multiple lines to check like this. I'm not sure if it's in the camera view right now. This dotted line here is also going to start matching up with another one. Okay, anyway, here we go. We're going to finish this upward stitch. Stop there. Okay, now the next one is the 11. I will get it out and go ahead and see if I can use the tick marks to get a good idea of where to stop. Okay, we stitched to there. That should be pretty good. Place the 11. I need to go a little bit more. Don't be afraid to go where it needs to go to match up. Okay, I'm matching up my bottom horizontal line. I'm matching up my previously stitched line with those dotted tick marks right there. Here we go. If you have to walk your fingers, do that. Go slow with this. You don't need to be speedy. You'll get faster as you do them. Now remember, we are at the last thing. We went down, up, down, up, down. We need to go back up so that we're ready to start the next section, okay? Or the next phase of, or the next pattern. All right, so there's 2 of our fans stitched out. They already look great. We'll put down the 3, same process. Put down the 5. Stitch over an inch, place the 5, horizontal line matching, previously stitched line matching, and we go up. Now, I should mention a couple things about rulers, because I made a little bit of a mistake and edited it out. Okay, I'm going to stitch up. And what it is some basic ruler work techniques, which is always kiss. That's what I talk about. Hopping foot has to be in constant contact with the template. And I had started this down here and I started veering off because I let my quilting machine go wherever it wanted it to instead of maintaining the kissing. Okay. So here we are. This is the 7. I've got the horizontal line matching. I've got the previously stitched line matching. And think about kissing. So I've got my template secure, but as I'm moving my machine, I'm constantly thinking about moving it in and down, not just down, in and down. Always trying to maintain that connection. Okay, this is time for the 9. I'm not going to do this through the whole quilt, I promise. I just want to make sure I'm repeating some things as we start so that you can get on the right track. Okay, this one we're going up. So I'm keeping contact, the hopping foot in the ruler, going up, keeping the template steady, stopping right there. Now we're going to pull out the 11. Going to stitch up, place the 11, match up my lines. Here we go. Maintain that connection, hopping foot with the ruler. Stitch down, and what do we do at the last one? We have to stitch back up. There's our backtrack to that tick mark. Okay. All right, great. I'm going to pull out some basting. All right, we're going to continue the pattern. In case you ever get mixed up, remember the etching is all on the back. All of my rulers, the etching's on the back. That helps a little teeny bit with some grip, but also another thing, if you ever get rulers and you find that they're printed on top or etched on top, that's not ideal. The reason being, when you're on top like this, it is deceiving. There's a shadow that gets created. When it's on the bottom, there's no shadow because the etching is in contact with the quilt itself, with the fabric. Okay, so that comes in handy later. I'm not saying it won't be a pretty quilt, but if we're looking for accuracy, you want to make sure that the etching is on the bottom. All right, here we go. Down. Up. Now this time I'm just going to grab the 7 and I'm just going to travel up to what I think is close. Okay. I'm going to place it and see, that was pretty good. You get used to how far to go. Time for the 9. Match up your previously stitched reference and your horizontal. And as you come up here, you'll see again there that 1 inch mark where my finger's pointing, that's lining up. As you come up here, you see previously stitched line is lining up right there. Okay, so you know that you're doing good. Okay, now it's time for the 11 again. Going to use it to travel up. Place the 11, horizontal line matches, previously stitched line matches, and here we go. Okay, we have to backtrack. There we go. All right, so that's the pattern. That's how we go. Now, we're going to get to Big G's neck pretty soon. And that's sort of like also getting to the end of the quilt, and I'll show you what we do when we run into something, so to speak. If you're doing all over Baptist fans, then you just go across the quilt. Okay, and when you do that, you can either stitch them out knowing they're going to be trimmed off, or you can stitch it and stop at the edge, and I'll show you how to do that too. But let's just go ahead and move over however long it takes to get to the neck. Here we go. Basically going to stitch right to that seam intersection. Okay, still matching up our lines. Put our 9 in, our 11. Okay, and then we're just gonna stop when we get to the neck. Okay, so we're going to stop there. Then I'm just going to go ahead and come down because I want him outlined, and I don't mind doing it with the background. That way he'll puff up some. Okay, so from here we're going to go over and start on the other side, but we need to mark that.
Now, when I said we need to mark that, what I really meant to say was, now is time for a little breakout session where I introduce the new Fab5 Fan Set marking template and how to use it. This is the footage. Here we go. Okay, so if you're printing the template out yourself, print a size. The new templates have the square inch for reference. Just turn it over, put some glue stick. Put it onto cardboard or template plastic, or I have part of an old folder there. That's it. So you can either use scissors, you can use your rotary cutter, whatever you want to cut this out. I'll do a combination. Okay, let's say this is our quilt. I'm going to darken this shape just a little bit so you can see it better. That's not a straight line. Thank goodness for rulers. I traced that one pretty good. Okay, so there's our shape. Okay, so let's say this is our quilt. This is the shape that we need to quilt around. And you know what? If this shape continued all the way to the top and you just had a left and a right, you can kind of wing it. You can quilt all your fans here and quilt all your fans here, and no one would care. It would look like they matched, probably. Okay, depending on what the shape is, obviously. But in this case, since we got a left and a right, and then they need to connect here, or however you do it, one way you could do it, if you've got your straight lines, you could mark straight lines on your quilt, use some chalk or disappearing ink or wash away, and just go every 5.5 inches and put a little tick mark. Okay, so there's 5.5. I can barely see that mark. There we go. Another 5.5. That's going to get taken in here, but you'll still mark it. So you're going to mark 5.5 inside that shape that you're not going to quilt in. 5.5. And then that goes off. Okay, so there's those tick marks. So I can use those. I can put my template down. Okay, I'm putting it in the bottom left corner. As you'll see, it's a 1/4 inch away, because that accounts for our hopping foot. Okay, so I know that's going to be right, and this is going to quilt out right there, and then I'm just going to put the next one here, put the next one here, and you know, we talk about how to stop at the edge of things and travel. Okay, and then I know you're going to want to start again for this side on your quilt. Put your template on the mark that you made, put your horizontal line here, and that's when you're first starting, when you've got the horizontal line. And then you know you're going to start, this is going to be your finished shape, your outside shape. So you put your 3 down and see if you could quilt the 3, and you could probably quilt a little bit of the 3 right here. Anyway, so you're just using the tick marks and you're going across, and if you've marked a horizontal line on your quilt for where the next ones start, which they start at 5.5 up from here, so you would put your 5.5 mark for your line. And you could use the line minder to make sure all the way across that you're even. But basically you're going to get your 5.5 tick mark here and create your chalk line or whatever you're using all the way across there. And just do the same thing. Mark your 5.5s and then you'll stay on. Okay, so that's one way to do it. You could, if you have your template and you have a chalk pencil that's thin enough, you could use the drawing discs, and you could actually just take the drawing disc with your chalk on your quilt, and you could draw out like that. I got a little off there, but close. Okay, so you could just use your drawing discs, okay? And then you could move it over, match up your line here that will match up just like when you're sewing. Get your drawing disc and do that, okay? Or the very easiest thing is to use the template. So here's the template. You just make sure that you, at the first one, that you're on the horizontal line here. This template already includes the 1/4 inch, so see how it lines up with that previously drawn one, and here it is. And you would just chalk or erasable marking pens, water soluble or air soluble, and you could just mark them all out. Down here you're just going to match up the line, you're going to match up that one that you just did, and you're going to see exactly what you're doing with this. You're going to stop there. Okay, so that's your set. You're going to take this and put it there on the tick mark that you made, if you did tick marks, or you're just following what this would be, because you're going to mark it. You're not going to sew in there, and you're going to mark this one. Remember, this is just marking, not sewing. Okay, that's easy, right? There you go. So I'm marking. When you get up here, it's just as easy. You're going to keep this vertical line like always, and you're just going to match up where you mark down here. And etc. See how everything just fits like a puzzle? And you could just mark to your heart's content. Mark all over your quilt, and then, you know, hopefully you'll stay on. If you get a little off, it's okay, but you know what you're shooting for. Okay, so those are just different ways that you can mark your quilt. Now in the video, I use a template sometimes I use tick marks. You'll see how we go. All right, but anyway, that's how we're going to do it. So new owners of the fan set, they now come packaged with the cardstock template. You just have to cut it out. Okay, so that's the way to do it. If you have bought the set before, over the years, before I did this, then I actually sent you an email today, if you bought it from my website, because I track emails, and I sent you the file today. If you bought it somewhere else, you may have to get in touch with me to see if you can get one. Also, if you sign up for the newsletter on my website, I will be including it in the next newsletter, and probably the one after that too. So that's another option, michaelquilts.com. Okay, so that's how you'll get it and use it, and I enjoyed using it. All right, let's get back to the quilting now. Okay, so now that you've seen the marking segment, I have marked this quilt, as you can see, with that kind of thick chalk line. And I marked it in various ways, but that's what I did on this bottom row. So now we're going to start quilting on the right side of Big G's neck and take you through how we do that. Here we go.
Okay, if this is my mark right here, I just need to see which template fits to start stitching in the blue on the outside. This is his neck, so this isn't going to stitch at all. All of that's going to be inside there. The 5 is our next one. Yes, this one's going to stitch. I'm matching up with my drawn line there. That's the previously stitched line. I'm matching up this horizontal line here, and I can tell that towards this part right there, there's going to be some stitching. Okay, so I'm just going to go down, because we go down, up. This will be an up. Pull up my threads. Okay, I'm just going to lock some stitches. I'm going to put my 5 where it belongs, with this matching that line right there, horizontal line across. Okay, we're going to go up right there till I hit the neck there. Okay, and now I'm going to travel up the neck. This is part of the ditch work. Okay, I'm just going to guess. The 7 is the next one, so I'm going to put the 7 matching up the center with that line matching up my horizontal line here, and I can tell I need to stitch up a little bit more. Okay, where am I going? Match, match, match. Come down just a couple stitches. Okay, now we're going down. I hope this makes sense. Okay, now we can just continue on as we normally do. We'll grab the 9. Stitch over 1 inch. Okay, I'm going to place the horizontal line down, match up previously stitched line with my marked line. Okay, and remember I have an inch mark that I can also see if I'm on track, which is right here. Back to the neck. Okay, now I want him to be completely ditched, so I'm going to go down. I'm going to go back up. It's not perfect, but it's good enough. That's the 9, and so now it's the 11. Just doing the same thing, matching up all my reference lines. Okay, and I'm going to come stitch down. Okay, and I had marked where that 5.5 inches was, so I'm right on track, which means by the time we get to the top, where it is completely background all the way across and you can see the whole thing, we should be matched up if we continue to do this process. Okay, what did I forget? I forgot to go back up. Okay, so I need to backtrack. There we go. Okay, now we get out the 3 and we continue on to the edge of the quilt. I'll go ahead and do that with you to show you what to do at the edge. Okay, pulled out our basting stitches. All right, here we go, just like before. Down, grab the 5. Match up all my lines, up. Grab the 7. Stitch up. Okay. Place the 7. Grab the 9. Stitch up. I'll get the 11. Go nice and slow, if you can. Stitch down. Back up. Okay, here's our last few for this row. Oops. Doing it this way takes some time. I won't lie to you. Okay, so we're at the edge. I'm just going to travel up in the seam allowance here. That was the 7. I'm going to put the 9 down. I'm going to travel up some more. I'm just going to put it down until it fits where it's supposed to go. I'm going to use the reference lines from previously stitched. I'm going to use my horizontal line. This is where it needs to be, so I'm just going to move down on the selvage, and now I'm in contact and stitching over. It's really pretty simple. I know some people that will go ahead and stitch out the whole fan design off to the edge of the quilt and then trim it later. That's fine too. You could do it however you want. There we go. Okay, so now we have completed row 1. Okay, the way we start row 2 is we put our 3 down, we match up the left edge with the vertical line, we match up the previously stitched line, because remember, we no longer have a bottom of our quilt. Now we have previously stitched lines, and you'll see ... right there. Okay, so edge is right here on the vertical line, ... is down. I did a few locking stitches, and we go down, up, down, up, down. Same procedure. There's down. Okay, now here's where it's a little bit different. Remember when we traveled over an inch? It was easy because it was straight. Now we're going to be doing a little bit more of repetitive motion and getting used to about where to travel to. Okay, so you could do the big template and come out, match up the tick mark here, and here is where you want to stop to be pretty close, but don't get used to it. Basically, it's just about putting the templates in and just being on track with them. Okay, so now I'm putting in the 5, and I'm going to match up right here. This is my point. I'm matching up. Let's see if it's in the camera. Yeah, it is. Okay, I've got my straight vertical line here with the edge. I have ... The dash line for my previously stitched line is on top of my previously stitched fan. Okay, so we're good here. And we go up. All right, now we're going to grab the 7, travel up an inch. Place the 7. And this time, I'm not sure if it's in the camera. Here, let me get it. New view. I'm going to use my phone. Okay, this is the first time we're going to see 2 reference lines or more. Okay, so I've got the left lined up with the side of the quilt, and then you see we've got this stitching line from previous, plus see those 2 dashes here for the next one. That's when these start to come in handy. Okay, so this is the first time you're going to start seeing multiple lines that you can reference. Okay, stop when you hit something. Okay, traveling over, we're getting out the 9. I'm just going to do a guesstimation, or you could pull the 11 out and use those tick marks to get a more accurate one. Okay, I'm matching up all the lines. I've got my left vertical line with the left side of the quilt. I'm matching up these previously stitched lines. The more you do, the more lines you're going to have to start matching, and you're going to be happy. Okay, I need to come back just a little bit. Okay, and now I'll go up. I'm going to pause to get rid of this basting. There we go. And I'll continue. Okay, time for the 11. Okay, it's the last time I'll say I'm matching up the left side vertical and previously stitched lines. What do we do here? We go back up. That's our backtrack. So we can start our 3 there. Okay, now I'm going to put in the 3. Where's my 3? There it goes. Now we're going to put in the 3. And we're going to follow dot, 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 dot. We no longer have straight lines because we're not at an edge anymore. Down. Travel over. It's going to be close to about there. When we put our 5 on, we'll know exactly where we need to be. Okay, I need to just come over probably one more stitch. There we go. Okay, now all my lines are matched up. This line with the bottom fan here, this line with the fan I just did. Okay, and my inch marking, if you're using the crosshairs on the cross hatching. There we go. Okay, so you see how they kind of all line up? The tricky parts to this will just be, you know, getting to the giraffe himself and completing it so that it's accurate all the way up. All right, so matching up all my lines here. Okay. Okay, I'm just going to give you some music while I do some more of these. Okay, so I've been working on this one that runs into the head and neck, just like we do on the sides of the quilts when we finish too. I'm just quilting what I can until I run into something, then I stop and then travel up, which is just like if we were on the side with the straight edge, and then match again and see where I need to quilt. So I've got my previously stitched lines matching down here at the bottom, and I simply quilt out whatever part is available. So there's the 9, the last one is the 11. Okay, I'm going to match my previously stitched lines down below. And it's just as easy as that, just stitching over till I can't stitch anymore. Stop.
Okay, I'm just jumping in here to do some ditch work. I'm using the Ditch Everything Mini for these smaller shapes around the eye. And then I'll use the straight 12-2 for some of it. But basically, ditching on the outside of Jeffrey. I said Jeffrey. Big G. Toys R Us. Sorry. And just making sure that Big G kind of pops up. And the best way to do that is to stitch just on the outside of him. All right. Now, I should have done the stitching way sooner than this. In fact, prior to doing the fans. But I was just sort of catching up down there and doing it as I went. But now that I'm getting closer to the top and I know things are going to get a little more tricky with connecting the fans, I want a solid border to go to and do my backtracking as I run into him. So that's why I'm stopping to do it now. I'll finish the fans and then we'll move on to Big G's body, which will be super quick because that's just straight lines. I know this is a very long video, but I wanted to show you everything I was doing on it. Okay. Here we go. More straight line ditching. Okay, so this is wrapping up all the fans, and really it was pretty easy when I did a lot of marking towards the bottom. Towards the top, I didn't have to mark so much. I was actually using the lines on the fan set and matching up with the previously stitched row below, and so it worked out. Anyway, I'm just going to finish up these fans here, and then we'll move on to Big G's body, and that will go really fast, I think.
So I'm doing straight horizontal lines all the way across. Pretty easy to do. I'm using the third line. So on the straight 12, it goes solid, dash, solid, dash, solid. So solid, dash, solid, that's 3/4 of an inch plus my 1/4 inch away from the needle makes 1 inch. So basically I'm doing 1 inch horizontal lines all the way across. I'm using the seam lines on the piecing for my guide. Again, it's ruler work. I prefer going bottom to top because this is why I can use my previously stitched lines to match it up on a line. It makes it super easy. If I did it from top to bottom, I can do that, but it's harder and I have to look behind the needle. Okay, so again, ruler work when it's progressive, go from bottom to top. All right, here we go. Super simple. Oh, I'm using monofilament thread for this. Okay, so I decided not to change colors or find one, and I'm using Glide's version. Sorry, it's not Glide, it's Filtech. Glide is the actual Glide thread. So it's Filtech, HAB+DASH. So the makers of Glide, this is called Essence. I think it's Essence for their invisible thread. Okay, when I go up on the side, I'm using the stitch line that I just did and then simply going to where the inch line is the next inch because we're going up an inch. Then I'll make sure here that I'm at the three. I'll make sure here that I'm at the third line. Okay, here we go. Really easy. Not much more I can say about this except walk your fingers. You can stop and adjust your ruler and move it over as you need, or you can keep going and slide. Let me show you that. So let's say I want to, let's say I want to stitch, 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 and I'm moving the ruler. You see as I'm moving, I'm sewing and I'm moving it. Some will find that you get a little wonky when you do that, and others are just perfectly fine. Okay, I do either way.
Okay, so we're just finishing up here with the straight lines towards the top of Big G. This one has been a lot of fun. I think it's bold in a way. That's very graphical. The Baptist fans with the straight lines. It makes a nice statement for this quilt. And there's lots of different ways to quilt this, and this is just the way I chose for this one. So thank you, Legit Kits, for letting me work on this one. Lots of fun. I'll be doing Edgar the Raven next for them. That one will focus mainly on free motion background fills, which should be a lot of fun. But until I get that edited and posted, you may see another video or two. I've got quite a few custom quilts in the queue, plus a new ruler or two releasing, which I may do a short video or two on those. In the meantime, check out legitkits.com. They really do have some great patterns. I love their designs. I think they have a really neat system too. It's been a lot of fun working on their quilts. So here are some pictures of the final quilt. It has been received really well. Posted pictures on Instagram. It's probably been a couple weeks ago because it's taken a while to do this video. And people seem to like it. I think it turned out great. So thanks again to Legit Kits for letting me quilt their quilts. Hope everyone is doing well out there and having a lot of fun in their own quilting projects. Until I see you again, happy quilting.